This is a video tutorial for the SUF Fitness workout plans. When you open up a workout plan, you see listed at the top the target body parts for that specific training session. For our first example, we'll be dealing with chest, triceps, and abs, and for our second example, back and biceps. Underneath that, you'll see two links listed. The first link is for video exercise demonstrations. If you click this link, you'll go right to my website and you can see all the videos for all the various exercises. The second link is for an omit exercise form. If any of these exercises cause either pain or discomfort, or the equipment's not available to you at your local gym, just click this link, fill out the form, and we'll make sure that those exercises do not find their way into any of your future workout plans. Underneath that, we have a note that says we should always perform 2 to 3 super light, high rep warm-up sets prior to each body part, not each exercise. Your sets are not to be counted toward your set totals and serve as true warm-ups to help prevent injury. What that states is before we even get here to where we're doing our actual work in the workout plan, we want to do these 2 to 3 super light sets to help prevent injury. You can do these sets with the first exercise listed, and like I said, they do not count toward this running set count. So what we want to do is we would do these 2 to 3 sets before we do chest, before we do triceps. Now, since in this case, triceps are used indirectly when we're training the chest, and they're already pretty warm by the time we get down to here. You may not have to do 2 to 3 light warm-up sets. You could probably get away with 1 or 2. But if in this split, you were training chest and biceps, the biceps really aren't that warm, I would do the 2 to 3. But since it's chest and triceps, and the triceps are being used during this whole section here, you could probably get away with 1 to 2. Let's look at the second example. Again, back and biceps. You would do these 2 to 3 super light sets right before your back. But since you train biceps, the biceps are used indirectly while you're training back. You could probably get away with doing 1 to 2 of these super light sets before you do biceps. If this was say back and shoulders, I would recommend doing the 2 to 3 super light sets before here and before you do, if this was, say, shoulders. These 2 to 3 super light sets, they're not meant to be hard at all. You're not using heavy weight. Rest time is 30 to 45 seconds tops. It's not supposed to be challenging. It's just to move around, get you loose, get a little blood there, and get you ready for the standard style work that you're going to be doing. Once those sets are out of the way, take a look at this example. We'll be training chest in a standard style. Body parts always listed here. Training styles always listed here. And here's your running set count. All right, this running set count is simply, you see 2 increasingly heavier warm-up sets, 1 working set to failure, a total of 3 sets. All right, we got another 3 sets. 3 plus these 3 equals 6. That's all this set count is. What do we got? Incline dumbbell flies, 2 increasingly heavier warm-up sets, 1 working set to failure. The difference between the warm set and set to failure is the set to failure is where you cannot physically perform another repetition. So let's say that your training chart indicates that you're supposed to be in a 12 to 15 rep range. On these 2 increasingly heavier warm-up sets, you want to be at the upper end of that range. So you want to be getting 14 to 15 reps. And since it's a warm-up, it's still good quality work. It's not supposed to be too light, but it's also not supposed to be too heavy. We want to stop about 1 or 2 reps shy of failure. So once again, just because they're warm-up sets, these warm-up sets are very different than these warm-up sets. These warm-up sets are still high-quality, hard work, but we're stopping 1 or 2 reps shy of failure. On this set here, we have 1 working set to failure. If we're in that 12 to 15 rep range, as an example, we want to be failing at the lower end of that. We want to fail at 12 to 13. Failure defined as, you get 12 reps and you can't physically complete a 13th rep. There will be times like down here, instead of seeing the 2 increasingly heavier warm sets, you might just see 1 warm-up set and 2 increasingly heavier working sets to failure. Increasingly heavier means exactly what it says. Increasingly heavier. So if you're doing these dumbbell flies, 2 increasingly heavier warm-up sets, let's say you start off with the 35 pounds dumbbells, you do your flies, all right, and let's say you get 15. You're at the upper end of that rep range, you stop a rep or 2 shy before failure. Your next set, you go to the 35s, 40s, stuff like that. Each set, you want to go a little heavier. Same thing with the increasingly heavier working sets to failure. If you're doing the pec deck with, say, 100 pounds on your first working set to failure, you fail at, 13. You want to go like 110, 120 pounds on your next set, and you want to fail at 12. That's if you're in a 12 to 15 rep range. Incline dumbbell press, let's say you're in an 8 to 10 rep range. These two increasingly heavier warm sets, you want to be failing at, 9, 10, or not failure, but you want to stop at about 9 to 10 reps. And these two increasingly heavier working sets to failure, you want to fail at 8, 9, around there. That's if you're in a 8 to 10 rep range. I'm just trying to show a little variety here. Again, flat barbell press, let's say we're in a 6 to 8 rep range. These heavier warm-up sets, we want to stop at about 8, a rep or two shy of failure. Two increasingly heavier working sets to failure, we want to be failing at 6 at the lower end of that rep range. And that's how it goes. Again, we're at the back. Right before we get into, this work right here, we want to do these 2 to 3 super light sets. We can do it with the reverse grip pull downs. It does not count toward this running set count. And, like I said, the same thing. 2 increasingly heavier warm sets. These warm-up sets are taking a rep or two shy of failure. They're supposed to target the upper end of that target rep range. And then you have your 2 increasingly heavier working sets to failure, where you want to hit the lower end of that rep range. And you want to increase the weight with each set. Your 4 sets here it is, plus your 3 sets here, gives you your 7. There's your running set count. All right, so your links are up here. Your target body parts are listed up here. Once again, these super light sets, 30, 45 seconds rest in between. It should not take that much time at all. It's just to get blood moving. 2 to 3, when you're doing opposing muscle groups, if you're doing muscle groups that, kind of work together, like the back and biceps, the chest and triceps, stuff like that, then, you might be able to get away with, 1 to 2. Just go how you feel. Make sure you're warm. Even if you're doing back and biceps and you feel like your biceps are cold for some reason, if you feel cold and you're not short, do the extra sets. If you feel like you do back and you're ready to do biceps, you already have a pump in that area, your biceps feel, pumped and primed, I would only do the 1 to 2. So if there's any questions about these workout plans, just send me an email and we'll go over it. Thank you.